you, Julie. Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Daniel Owens, and I'm a member here at Roof, and I'm also your worship leader this morning. It's good to have you here. Before we start the service, I wanted to acknowledge an event that happened yesterday that may be on your minds. As most of you, I'm sure, have heard, there was a shooting at a rally for former President Trump, and 2 people died, including the gunman, and there were several people injured. Trump was injured. He had a bullet graze his right ear, but he's okay. He's fine. There have been many shootings in our country and the loss of many lives. There are also many violent conflicts in our world, like in the Middle East, and many lives are lost in the world every day. Today and forever, I grieve the loss of life. I grieve for the people who die or are injured. I grieve for their families and for their friends. I grieve for those who were involved in the shootings and conflicts, who feel both lucky to have survived and also guilty that they survived when other people died. I grieve for all those directly and indirectly affected by violence. I pray for peace in the world.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to the Rogue Valley Unitarian Universalist Fellowship, known fondly as ROOF. My name is Francie Parr, and I'm a member of ROOF because it brings me joy to be a part of a fellowship that is vital, warm, transformative, and commits to doing the work that it takes to grow and change ourselves, and thus the larger community. To those of you who are visitors here for the first time, thank you for being here with us. To find out more about ROOF, please go to rvuuf.org and sign up to be on our email list to receive news about happenings, events, and upcoming services. Today, I want to especially thank the Stream team, Maria Geigel, Stephen Weir, and Walter Ensign. Thank you very much. They're making the online service possible. And I also want to thank the neighborhood team, who is providing a warm welcome and many, many other things for this on-site congregation. I also want to do a special shout out to Vaz, who is a member of our ROOF community. He is a professional photographer, and on the front of your programs is one of his photographs with the sands of time sifting through, and you'll see it up here on the altar also. So thank you so much, Vaz, for sharing that with us. As our service today centers on thoughts about death and dying, I'd like to begin with a poem by Rabindranath Tagore. A copy of the poem is on the front of your service program. Peace, my heart. Let the time for the parting be sweet. Let it not be a death, but completeness. Let love melt into memory and pain into songs. Let the flight through the sky end in the folding of the wings over the nest. Let the last touch of your hands be gentle, like a flower of the night. Stand still, O beautiful end, for a moment, and say your last words in silence. I bow to you and hold up my lamp to light your way. Each service, we acknowledge that our building is built on the land that began as the home of the Cow Creek Umpqua, Takelma, Shasta, and Lagawa people. We remind ourselves that Indigenous people are part of our community and continue to experience the effects of colonization. We here at ROOF are committed to working for the worth and dignity of Indigenous people, both within our community and around the world. And these services are a part of this work. No matter where you are going on your journey today, no matter if you carry a burden or the deepest of joys, no matter how weary and thirsty you may be, pause here. Take in a quiet breath. Rest in peacefulness. Be renewed and restored, for in a short while the journey will continue with its worries and troubles, and joys and promises. Until then, let us join minds and hearts and worship together.
As a way of introduction, I work as a chaplain at Providence Hospital on the weekends, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. And I also work as a peer support specialist at the Addictions Recovery Center here in Medford. I live in Medford with my wife, Claire, who's here today, and our 6 cats. During the summer months, our services at ROOF are lay-led. Today, Francie and I are the worship leaders. Our minister, Reverend Sean Parker Dennison, will be back in the pulpit on August 11th. As is our practice, we begin each worship by lighting our chalice. We light this flame that we might continue to find comfort in its warmth, strength in its light, and holiness in its presence. We follow this light that it might illuminate our search for purpose, for meaning, and forgiveness in life, and surround us with peace at death. We light this chalice, knowing even as this sacred spark of life is extinguished, in the ensuing darkness when we die, its light will still burn bright with all the memory and hope of its all too brief flash across our lives. We light this flame of life, love, death, and truth for the divine promise of healing hearts.
Good morning. Good morning. So you notice that Jane is not here today. She's on vacation, and that'll happen again in a couple of weeks. We're very lucky, actually, in this fellowship to be able to have 2 different pianists, Jen Marie and Jane, and I'm not used to playing the piano anymore, which you'll probably notice from time to time. But today we're going to sing, and usually I'm the song leader, but today members of the choir are going to be your song leaders, and they're going to rise with all of you. Please stand in body or spirit, and they will help you as we sing number 6, which is Just As Long As I Have Breath. Here we go.
Good morning. I'm Roger Howe, and with me is Kate Cleland Sipfley, and we are representing the anti-racism group here at ROOF. Today is July 14th and is known in some parts of the world as Bastille Day. On July 14th, 1789, angry and frightened people representing the working class of Paris stormed the Bastille, a prison rumored to hold many prisoners who had been arrested and confined arbitrarily. A simultaneous attack on the Hôtel des Invalides resulted in the rebels obtaining firearms. The French Revolution was in progress. By the time it ended, an estimated 16,000 people had been executed as members of the aristocracy or enemies of the state. This was a very different course from the one taken by the United States of America in 1776, or by the Confederation of Alpine Cantons, the founding of Switzerland, now celebrated on August 1st, though the founding was an act taken in, quote, early August, unquote, of 1291. The Russian Revolution started on the 8th of March, 1917, and followed yet another pathway. If you have not read Animal Farm by George Orwell, I recommend it. But my goal here is not to teach history, but to point out that a deliberately disadvantaged and denigrated element of society seems likely to rise up in rebellion when things seem to be becoming bleak enough. Those rebellions are not fun, as the American Civil War should have taught Americans for all time. The lesson is that no large group in a society can be placed at substantial disadvantage forever. The boiling point will come, and when it does, let them eat cake will not appease them. Unfortunately, though some of these reorganizations are relatively peaceful, others result in massive bloodshed regardless of who wins. And when either or both sides of the conflict believe they are carrying out the will of God, the bloodshed is likely to be much worse. Think of Israel and Gaza today. The needs and the treatment of the darker-skinned population in our country is therefore a matter that should be of substantial interest to us. And we must convince others who would continue to denigrate and suppress other people that this is the wrong path to take. There are too many examples of the wrong way to go. Let us choose a better one.
It has become our practice to light a peace candle each week for peace in our mind, peace in our home, peace in our communities, and peace in the world. Peace for us, in the end, means to leave those we love in peace too. So let us have the conversations about what we want and do not want as we are dying, and what we want after our death. It brings peace to the bereaved to know what our loved one wanted and to be able to see those wishes through. how we die matters. Do we have children here this morning to sing out? Yay, okay. Wonderful. It is the time in our service for joys and sorrows. Every few weeks, we come together in community to tell our stories and to acknowledge the events that shape us: grief and joy, love and loss, challenges and celebrations. Sharing these joys and sorrows helps us live the part of our mission that encourages us and urges us to empower connection. We are connected by our shared humanity and our love and our care for one another. So if you have recently encountered a milestone in your life, we invite you to share it briefly with this community so that others may be touched by your joy or help to bear the burden of your sorrow. We remind you as you share what is most tender in your heart, that it may just require silence, especially as our services are publicly streamed and archived on the internet. This makes it most important that you share only for yourself and with the mindfulness of what can be made public. The last time we did Joys and Sorrows, Reverend Sean did not have a chance to do his service. I don't want that to happen today to Daniel. So I'm going to ask for those of you who wish to share, and we want everyone to get to share, that you take 1 or 2 minutes to share what you have on your heart so that Daniel has all his time. I'm going to now invite you to start coming over to the microphone that's over here, but please stay tuned into what I'm saying for a few more directions. But please go ahead and start lining up at the microphone. I'm going to help with the timing of things and keeping things moving. I'm going to take this little hourglass over here that signifies time, and I'm going to sit down close to the microphone. And I'm going to let you know when it's time for you to wrap it up. And please forgive me if I ask you to finish when you had more to share. And if that is the case, you have more to share, and I needed to remind you that we're being brief this morning, then please connect with someone during the coffee hour who can listen to your heart and your mind and help you feel complete with your thoughts and your feelings. So, I don't see anybody there. Nobody, did I scare you off? Nancy, oh, good, okay. I hardly think we need the timer unless we have hordes of people come. Somebody may be encouraged by his sharing.
I wish to share a joy. I lost my husband 28 years ago, but we had 36 wonderful years together.
All right.
Today's our anniversary. 45, but we lived together and bought a house first. We were tenants in common. That was how our attorney introduced us to people at parties. So far, so good.
Good morning, I'm Peg Kern, and I want to share a joy, which at first we thought was going to be a sorrow. I'm one of 7, and I have sisters that are twins, 14 months older than me, Jane and Janet. And the nurse of the two had some breathing issues and very quickly ended up at University of Virginia Hospital, thought she was going to have a bypass and everybody. And it turned out not to be the case. So she's on medication, she's going to be working out a little bit and minding her own health instead of everyone else. So we were all very thankful.
30 years ago this month, I arrived in Ashland. I arrived in July, and I became the office administrator in August. And I had that job for 17 years. I'm so happy the church is still here. I'm still here. Yay!
Realized the line had shrunk. I want to remember Eric Kresh, a member of our community. Thank you, dear. I want to remember and lift up Eric Kresh, a member of our community who passed recently and who gave a lot of himself volunteering for environmental organizations and youth education, etc. And Eric Kresh was a fine member of our community, and I remember him well.
I want to share that in less than 2 weeks, that beautiful woman up there and I will be celebrating our 49th wedding anniversary.
Thank you. What a great privilege it is to know one another and to help hold these joys and these sorrows, thus strengthening each other and our community. May these milestones and the ones that remain unspoken in the quiet places of the heart be held with tenderness and love.
Today I share a reading. Love and Death, My Journey Through the Valley of the Shadow is a book by Reverend Dr. Forrest Church, who was the longtime minister of All Souls Unitarian Church in New York City. Here we have excerpts from his reflection at General Assembly in 2008, just 1 year before he died of cancer at the young age of 61. One of the great things about dying slowly is that you have an opportunity to punctuate your life story. The questions death causes us to ask are at the heart of religious questions. Where do I come from? Who am I? Where am I going? What is life's purpose? And what does all of this signify? Death is not life's goal, only life's terminus. The goal is to live in such a way that our lives will prove worthy of dying for. And this is where love comes in. The one thing that can't be taken from us, even at death, is the love that we give away before we go. I conducted a fearless moral inventory, made amends where it was possible and appropriate, recovered my good conscience, made peace with myself, then with others, and then with God. If I hadn't, when this death sentence came to me, I know that I would have been crippled by regret. Don't get me wrong. I am not happy about the prospect of dying. I have things left to do in life and regret the interruption of all of my splendid plans. I am free to die. I realized some time ago, because although I have much ongoing business to do in life, I have no unfinished business. I had more to learn, however. My wife reminded me that this death is not entirely my own, and to do with as I please. I needed the help of my children and wife to reach acceptance too, by giving them the opportunity to work out the unfinished business that they had with me. They needed to say things they had not said, show me things about themselves that I had missed, make a deeper connection with me that could sustain them after I was gone. The network of relationships that binds us has its own moral demands that we cannot meet on our own. We can only meet together. Begin this work of salvation now. Don't wait until death is imminent. This is life work, not death work, because its benefits and challenges are not restricted to the moment of death. You know what your unfinished business is, so don't wait until it's too late to begin taking care of it. In taking care of your own unfinished business and in helping your loved ones take care of theirs, you can liberate yourself and then them from suffering, as if you wait too long may one day become intractable. Awakening is like returning after a long journey and seeing the world, our loved ones, cherished possessions, and the tasks that are ours to perform with new eyes. We may not understand any better who we are or why we are here, but for this one fleeting moment, this one instant we can bank on, our life becomes a sacrament of praise. Whether or not this awakening will lead to a dance in the ring of eternity, we do not know. But we will join the dance of life with more exuberance. How much finer it will be when our band is struck, if we have loved the music and loved the dance while it lasted. Enjoy the dance.
You're off the hook, by the way. It says all, but it's really just me. This piece, as many of you know, is in the African American tradition of spirituals. It was sung in the Deep South, of course, and something that maybe not many of us think of is that because people didn't travel so much in those days, it was not common for anyone outside of the Deep South to have heard spirituals. So that was fixed in the late 1880s when a group of people, emancipated singers, formed a group called the Fisk Jubilee Singers, and they began touring the United States, bringing spirituals to everyone and anyone that cared to listen to them across the United States. That tradition was continued into the 1970s, 1980s. They were simply called the Jubilee Singers. And at that time, my friend Christopher was a part of that group. They toured the United States and parts of Europe, bringing traditional spirituals in the way that they were originally sung to folks all over. This today is for Christopher because he would have been 64 on Wednesday.
Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. A long way from home. Oh, sometimes I feel like I got no friend. Sometimes I feel like I got no friend. Sometimes I feel like I got no friend. A long way from home. Sometimes I feel like I'm almost gone. A long way from home. Sometimes I feel like I'm almost gone. Sometimes I feel like I'm almost gone. Sometimes I feel like I'm almost gone. Such a long way from home.
I felt that in my heart. Thank you. I was asked to give a talk on death and dying this morning. It may seem like a difficult, sad, concerning, and very deep conversation to have this early in the morning. Yet I believe that death and dying can be viewed also as something beautiful, inspiring, holy, and meaningful for everyone involved, for the dying and for those left behind. It is something to hold close to our hearts at any time of the day. As a chaplain at Providence Hospital, I experience death and dying every day. Some deaths come suddenly, like a severe heart attack, a severe stroke, a gunshot wound, or an accident. Other deaths come slowly and deliberately, like cancer, Parkinson's disease, sepsis, and Alzheimer's disease. We lose other loved ones to suicide, and the parting by a loved one's choice to die is heartbreaking. But we know that they no longer suffer, and in considering loved ones who die by suicide, please know, even though their dark parts were worthy. It took strength to survive as long as they did. Let that be a strength to all of us, to have the courage to embrace our own full, fabulous, and beautiful self. Your loved one was glorious, imperfect, and divine and so are you. My parents died suddenly. My father of a heart attack, and my mother with a brain hemorrhage. It was a shocking experience to lose them so suddenly. On the other hand, my siblings and I were grateful that they did not suffer. They both had good lives, full of experiences and memories, and their lives lived on in our remembrance of them. Both of them had a celebration of life here at the fellowship, where the community was able to recognize them, remember them, honor them, and celebrate their lives and contributions to the community and to the families. The celebration of life events here at the fellowship are one way that our religious community holds the beauty, the tenderness, sometimes the pain and grief of our losses. Sometimes the beauty of life is made sweeter by its cyclical, inevitable, seasonal, and sacred ending. At other times, the pain and suffering of losing someone we love can be painful, traumatic, sorrowful, and full of unmeasurable grief. Today, I want to talk about how people die, the experience of dying, and the journey after death. When we get the news that we are dying, we immediately get the sympathy of others. Sometimes this sentiment is welcomed, and at other times we may feel that we're too much the focus of attention. We may or may not want to tell others that we are dying. It can be a private journey, and we may simply not want to draw too much attention to ourselves. We might also be scared and know how to express to others that we know we are dying. Our fears might include fear that death will cause grief to our loved ones, fear that important ambitions and projects will all come to an end, fear that the process of dying will be painful, fear that we will no longer be able to have any experiences, fear that we no longer are able to care for our dependents, fear about what will happen if there is life after death, and fear about what might happen to our body after we die. Will we be cremated or buried, and will our organs be donated to others? If we pinpoint exactly what is that scares us, we may be able to work through the fear and find a solution and find peace in the moment. In a culture where death is taboo, we may not want to engage with the subject of death and dying. This is why the words of Reverend Dr. Forrest Church are so important. Dying can give us the possibility of punctuating our own life and taking the journey with other people that are in our life. When we know we are dying, it allows time for us to review our lives, ask for amends and for forgiveness, and to forgive others. We can make fresh memories doing those things that we love to do in our last days. And it can be a humbling experience because we may rely on family and caregivers to take care of our daily needs. We may not be able to do things that we are used to doing for ourselves. We may take time to write a will with the help of a lawyer and an advance directive so that our loved ones will know what kind of end-of-life treatment we want in our final days and what we don't want. When we know we are dying, we can write or videotape our life story to keep our life story alive for our children and for generations to come. We begin grieving all that we will lose when we die. We may feel happiness or regret about things we have done. We can take the time to forgive ourselves and others and to prepare to die peacefully and without emotional pain or anguish. And we can make time to reflect on what happens after we die. A common natural death has recognizable features. A few years before we die, we may grow tired more easily, eat less, and retire from things that we like to do. We may fall more often and begin to lose our mobility and ability to drive cars. We may grieve the loss of things we once loved to do and that are now beyond our reach. We may lose more friends and family who die as we grow older. We may lose a spouse, friends, family, and caretakers may become necessary allies to help us through our daily activities. Months before our death, we may ask for hospice care or for comfort care to help us live through the dying process without pain and without suffering. We may sleep and doze off more often. We may eat and drink less, talk less, and withdraw from people. We may spend more time at the hospital. And a few weeks before our death, we may feel tired and drained all of the time. Sometimes we don't leave the bed. We may experience the following: more pain, fewer and smaller bowel movements, and less pee, and changes in blood pressure, breathing, and heart rate. Body temperatures may go up and down. Congested breathing from the buildup at the back of our throats, confusion, and even dementia. We may hallucinate, and whether it's a hallucination or not, we don't know, but sometimes we will see loved ones from our past appearing in the room. When death is within days or hours, we may not want any food or drink altogether. In some cases, we may moan and make some erratic movements before dying. We may become restless and confused and hallucinate. Although this is hard for our loved ones to witness, medications, particularly if we are in comfort care, will help, and we may continue at peace and calm for the rest of our journey. After a while, eyes may glaze over or close. Pulses and heartbeats may become irregular and harder to hear. Hearing and feeling may be the last senses to go, and it might be helpful to have loved ones talk to us and sing or play music, to hold our hands and stroke our hair, even if we seem unresponsive. Loved ones may dim the lights and make our space as peaceful and as calm as possible. We may wait for someone to arrive before we die so that we can say goodbye to them, or we may wait until the room is empty so we can die in peace. Body temperatures will drop. Skin may become bluish purple, particularly in the hands, the feet, and the knees. Breathing is interrupted by gasping and long moments between breaths. And after a few hours, the amount of time can't really be predicted. Our breathing finally stops. And our heartbeat then stops, and blood no longer reaches our brain, and we are pronounced dead. Depending on our beliefs, the mind and/or consciousness may be with us after death. We are at peace at this moment, and as related by people with near-death experiences, we may see a tunnel of light. We may see our life in review like a colorful movie. We may have visits from loved ones, from spirits, angels, God, or whatever our beliefs might be. And we may have an overwhelming and joyful sense of warmth, peace, and unconditional love. Some speculate that our spirit returns to the cosmos when we die. Some believe that we will be reborn into another life. And some believe in some kind of a heaven for our soul and or our body. For some, we wait to be resurrected on earth in a future Garden of Eden. And for others, death is simply the final chapter. We may believe that our body simply returns to dust and our life remains only in memory and the love that we left behind. Knowing what will happen after death in your own belief may help to be more relaxed and at peace as we die. It may help alleviate any fear that we have of dying. For those who are in vigil as we die, the process may be difficult and it may be exhausting, while at the same time it can be inspiring, memorable, meaningful, and peaceful, and make grieving more palatable because they have journeyed with us to the end and have said that they love us and said everything else that they feel needs to be said before we die. They may sing to us, play our favorite songs, and adorn the room with flowers and photographs of our life. The cycle of life and death is complete, and the spirit of life continues. We are all at peace and reverent of the cycle of life, love, and death. I end today's talk with the words of Reverend Dr. Forrest Church. When you're living in the rush of life, it's very hard, very difficult spiritually to focus on the present. When you are given a terminal illness and you are not regretful of your past so that you can embrace it and say yes to it, you can live in each day and fill it with all the amplitude, all its glory, and you can celebrate what is, not mourn what isn't. My wish for all of us here today is that we may have a peaceful, memorable, meaningful, and sometimes even joyful death. And that death comes only when we are ready. In closing my talk this morning, I share a poem by Pablo Neruda. When I die, I want your hands on my eyes. When I die, I want your hands on my eyes. I want the light and the wheat of your beloved hands to pass their freshness over me one more time, to feel the smoothness that changed my destiny. I want you to live while I wait for you, asleep. I want for your ears to go on hearing the wind, for your smell to smell the sea that we loved together, and for you to go on walking the sand where the two of us walked. I want for what I'd love to go on living. And as for you, I loved you and sang to you above everything. For that, go on flowering, my flowery one, so that you reach all that my love orders for you, so that my shadow passes through your hair, so that they know by this the reason for my song.
Thank you. We will now give and receive the offering for the life, health, and work of our congregation. With our gifts freely given, may we say yes to the values of our faith. As we approach the time for our offering, give what you will for the church that has meant so much to you, for the church that has meant so much to those who came before, and for the church that will mean so much to the people you will never know. Thank you so much for the many gifts and the services that you bring to this fellowship.
Please join me in number 311 in your gray hymnal. Again, please stand in body or spirit, and the choir members are going to help you out here. Oh, one thing. On the third page, on the last verse, I'm keeping a promise to Rick. There is a misprint in the hymnal. It was an editor who thought that he misspelled or misused a word, bear. In the hymnal, it says B-E-A-R, as in bear the pain. That's not what Rick meant. Rick meant bear it, B-A-R-E. So if you have a pencil or a pen, cross out B-E-A-R and write in B-A-R-E. Thank you, Rick.
Our closing words today are by Maya Angelou, and the name of the poem is When Great Trees Fall. When great trees fall, rocks on distant hills shudder. Lions hunker down in tall grasses, and even elephants lumber after safety. When great trees fall in forest, small things recoil in silence, their senses eroded beyond fear. When great souls die, the air around us becomes light and rare. We breathe briefly, our eyes briefly see with a hurtful clarity, our memory suddenly sharpened, examines, gnaws on kind words unsaid, promised walks never taken. Great souls die, and our reality, bound to them, takes leave of us. Our souls, dependent upon their nurture, now shrink, wizened. Our minds, formed and informed by their radiance, fall away. We are not so much maddened as reduced to the unutterable ignorance of dark, cold caves. And when great souls die, after a period, peace blossoms. Slowly and always irregularly. Spaces fill with a kind of soothing electric vibration. Our senses restored, never to be the same, whisper to us, they existed. They existed. We can be and be better, for they existed.